Tonight, a raging wildfire forces evacuations in the west, fed by gusting winds, further fueled by extreme heat in the coming days, and the water crisis in one of America's biggest cities. We begin with the fire. 14,000 acres burned in California's Central Valley. At least 2 firefighters injured. The wind, the biggest challenge for crews, further compounding the issue. Intense heat on the way in the west that could bring the hottest temperatures of the year. A state of emergency in Atlanta. Water pouring through the streets, but not through taps in a big portion of the city. Crews working to fix broken mains. Residents now blasting the city's response as they're advised to boil water. Details just coming in on a shark attack off Southern California. The victim rushed to the hospital with what are being called significant injuries. American voters are divided over Donald Trump's conviction. The new ABC News Ipsos poll that finds half believe the guilty verdict was correct, but nearly the same number of people call it politically motivated. Trump lashes out again at his opponents, saying they're sick. The former president now warns of a breaking point if he's kept under house arrest. The historic election in Mexico, the country all but guaranteed to have its first female president. The campaign marred by political violence with dozens of candidates killed. What the election means for U.S.-Mexican relations. The pressure's building on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to accept the Gaza ceasefire deal outlined by President Biden, but he's facing pushback from its coalition. Could this cost him his job? And will Hamas accept the terms? OPEC nations agree to extend production cuts. What this could mean for gas prices as we head into the busy summer months. Plus, the frightening scene at a monster truck show. A truck pulls down power lines, forcing spectators to scramble. Multiple injuries reported. And America strong tonight. The Americans who helped win World War II return to France, receiving a hero's welcome.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. A wind-fueled fire scorching thousands of acres. California's first major fire of the year has prompted evacuation orders. Residents forced from their homes in an area 60 miles east of San Francisco. Hundreds of firefighters now battling the blaze. The fire started Saturday afternoon, forcing the closure for a time of part of Interstate 580. Strong winds and dry conditions helped to fuel the flames, turning what had been thousands of acres of hilly, dry grass into a surreal charred landscape. At least 2 firefighters were injured battling the flames. Meteorologist Samara Theodore is standing by with the forecast, but ABC's Jacqueline Lee leads us off.
Tonight, firefighters racing to get the upper hand on a fast-moving wildfire burning east of San Francisco. The Corral Fire breaking out Saturday afternoon in California's San Joaquin County. Some 400 personnel battling flames scorching some 14,000 acres.
Our biggest challenge right now is the wind. It never really subsided overnight.
Strong winds and dry grass making it difficult to contain.
With the late season rains we have a tremendous grass crop this year. It came up about 4 feet and was very thick. Light flashy fuels burn really fast.
Families in about 100 homes in the area forced to evacuate. A stretch of Interstate 580 shut down for hours.
We're hoping to keep fire moving away from the populated areas and into the more rural foothills.
Improving conditions enabling firefighters to make significant progress. These images showing just how close the flames got to homes. 2 firefighters were hurt, both expected to make full recoveries. Lindsay, California officials say the fire season is now year-round, and despite a wet winter, there's still plenty of dry fuel that can easily burn. Lindsay?
Some ominous and dangerous conditions there, Jacqueline. Thank you. And let's bring in ABC News meteorologist Samara Theodore. Samara, based on the hot forecast ahead, it doesn't appear firefighters are going to get any respite from the weather.
That's correct, Lindsay. In fact, near Tracy, California, where that wildfire is burning, we are anticipating temperatures to hit 100 degrees by Tuesday. It's also on Tuesday where an excessive heat warning goes into effect for inland California. And then by Wednesday, an excessive heat watch for places like Tucson, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. Speaking of Las Vegas, Thursday could be a record breaker with temperatures anticipated to hit 111 degrees on Thursday. Right now, though, we are monitoring that imminent threat of tornadoes. A tornado watch has just been issued for the Texas Panhandle. We're also keeping a close eye out for that severe thunderstorm watch stretching from the Dakotas down to Sanderson, Texas. The greatest threat with these storms remains to be damaging winds and hail, but there is a threat for some isolated tornadoes, especially in central Nebraska. Lindsay?
Samara, thank you. A state of emergency remains in effect in Atlanta after water main breaks left thousands without water. The city says service is now restored, but many are experiencing low pressure. Residents are being advised to boil their water. Some residents say that they're frustrated with the response from city officials. ABC's Faith Abube reports from Atlanta.
Tonight, outrage in Atlanta after massive pipe bursts left thousands with water and patients running dry in the country's 6th largest metro area.
He need water. I could have given him.
Frustrated mom of 2, Brittany Stansberry, is among the 1.2 million people who rely on the city for water.
He can't take a shower. He can't take a bath.
This map from officials appears to show about half of Atlanta impacted, the city declaring a state of emergency and issuing a boil water advisory. Emory University Hospital diverting ambulances and relocating some patients Saturday.
Outside my hotel, the pipe busted.
Even rapper Megan Thee Stallion's 2 sold-out concerts canceled.
We could have done a better job over the past day, and for that, I apologize.
The city says crews have made significant progress, but officials criticized for being slow to respond. Signs reading, quote, "We don't have water. Has anyone seen or heard from Mayor Andre Dickens?" U.S. infrastructure is notoriously aging. The American Society of Civil Engineers reports 240,000 water main breaks each year in the U.S., 1 every 2 minutes. They estimate 6 billion gallons of treated water is lost each day, enough to fill more than 9,000 swimming pools.
Lindsay, more than 2 days since the start of this major water disruption, you can still see and hear water just gushing from one of the main pipes. Water service has essentially been restored, but crews in the distance are working nonstop, according to city officials, to repair those water lines. Lindsay.
And that, of course, cannot happen soon enough. Faith, thank you. Beaches near San Diego have been closed after a serious shark attack at Del Mar. Officials say a 46-year-old man was rushed to the hospital with injuries to both his torso and arm. ABC's Melissa Don joins us now from California. Melissa, what can you tell us?
Lindsay, what we know is that a man is recovering at a hospital tonight after he was bit by a shark. All of this happening while he was swimming with about a dozen others over at a San Diego County beach this morning. Now, officials say that the 46-year-old man suffered significant but non-life-threatening injuries after he was bitten on his torso, arm, and hand. Now, the victim, who swims there regularly, is expected to survive. A lifeguard who responded to the emergency telling us the victim was immediately provided care and was conscious and oriented. But Lindsay, this forcing Del Mar lifeguards there to close down the beach to swimming and surfing for the next couple of days. Lindsay.
Understandably so, Melissa. Thank you. Now to the historic election in Mexico, where voters are poised to choose a female as their president. Both leading candidates are women. There were long lines at polling stations throughout the day, but the run-up to the election has been marred by violence. Here's ABC's Matt Rivers from Mexico City.
Tonight, an historic election south of the border. Tens of millions casting their votes all day in Mexico, all but guaranteed to lead to the country's first ever female president. Claudia Sheinbaum and Xochitl Galvez Ruiz vying for the top job. Sheinbaum, the clear favorite in polling over Galvez. The former mayor of Mexico City has the backing of popular President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Sheinbaum saying she pledges to uphold the president's legacy. I pledge to be a good president who lives up to the generosity and greatness of our history and our people. Domestically, public safety is the #1 issue. More murders recorded during the current administration than any other. Galvez attacking current President López Obrador's key slogan for dealing with rampant organized crime, abrazos, no balazos, hugs, not bullets.
Yo propongo una nueva estrategia de seguridad.
Galvez declaring, I propose a new strategy. Hugs for criminals are over. That violence on full display during Mexico's most violent election cycle ever. More than 230 people killed in election-related violence, according to Mexican consulting firm Integralia. The latest just this week, when a mayoral candidate was gunned down while at a rally. How whomever the next president is deals with the U.S., crucial.
Entre el poder económico.
Sheinbaum assuring her supporters, saying, we will not submit to any economic or foreign power, no matter how powerful it may be.
Lindsay, the next Mexican president will take office on December 1st, just less than 2 months before either Donald Trump or Joe Biden assumes the Oval Office. That relationship, the key driver of U.S.-Mexico relations for the next 4 years. Lindsay?
Certainly critical, Matt. Thank you. And that brings us to the presidential election here, where voters are split on the impact of the Trump guilty verdict. The former president received an enthusiastic welcome and a handshake from one of the participants at a UFC fight in New Jersey this weekend. Trump's appearance comes as a new ABC News Ipsos poll shows nearly half of Americans say he should end his campaign following his conviction. More now from ABC's White House correspondent, Mary Alice Parks.
A newly convicted felon, former President Donald Trump cheered attending an Ultimate Fighting Championship event in New Jersey Saturday night, posting his appearance on TikTok. Trump again on the attack since a New York jury found him guilty on 34 counts related to falsifying business records, promising revenge and railing against the judicial system.
My revenge will be success, and I mean that. But it's awfully hard when you see what they've done. These people are so evil.
When asked about the possibility of facing house arrest or even jail time, Trump said this.
I think it would be tough for the public to take. You know, at a certain point, there's a breaking point.
Democrats responding.
This is another dangerous appeal to violence, and it is yet another reason why Americans are going to decide they don't want a convicted felon in the Oval Office.
Legal experts say it's highly unlikely Trump will receive jail time at his sentencing in July. Trump's attorneys saying they plan to appeal by arguing the judge overseeing the case was biased.
Judge Merchan essentially, I wouldn't say rigged the deliberations, but certainly steered the jury towards the verdict that he clearly wanted.
A new ABC News Ipsos poll showing Americans are divided over Trump's conviction, 50% saying they think the verdict was correct, but almost as many, 49%, say they think Trump should end his 2024 presidential campaign over the result.
He had every right that every other criminal defendant has in that courtroom. He got the same due process as any other person, and that's exactly the way it should be.
Mary Alice joins us now from the White House. Mary Alice, you mentioned those polling numbers. Another striking figure in that data was the number of Republicans who said that they think Trump should now end his campaign.
Yeah, that's right, Lindsay. In our new poll, 1 in 6, 16% of Republicans say they think that Trump should end his campaign because of this conviction. And of those voters who say they don't like Trump or Biden, 67% think he should. This is a tight race, but we are seeing early indications that this conviction could make a big impact in November. Lindsay?
Many pundits believe this election will be won on the margins. Mary Alice, thank you. Tens of thousands of people took to the streets here in Manhattan for the annual Israel Day Parade. The traditionally celebratory event focused this year on solidarity amid very tight security due to the Israel-Hamas war. In Israel, pressure is mounting on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Today, the White House says the U.S. expects Israel to accept a ceasefire deal if Hamas agrees. ABC's Britt Clennett joins us now from Tel Aviv. Britt, give us a reality check. Of course, we've been here before. Could we actually see a deal this time?
Lindsay, Israel is facing growing pressure to accept the deal laid out by Biden, which includes plans for a 6-week end to the fighting and for Israel to begin negotiations for a permanent ceasefire in exchange for the release of the 100-plus remaining hostages in Gaza. Now, Israel and the U.S. not appearing to be aligned on a major sticking point when hostilities will end. Netanyahu describing it as a non-starter without Israel first dismantling Hamas's capabilities and bringing the hostages home. Qatar and Egypt also pressuring Israel, but a Netanyahu advisor told me they should instead pressure Hamas to release the hostages. 2 of Netanyahu's far-right ministers threatening to quit if he accepts the deal before Hamas is destroyed. Lindsay.
Britt, thank you. Back here at home, authorities in Akron, Ohio are appealing to the public for help after a mass shooting that left 1 person dead and more than 24 injured. Victims flooded area hospitals. Some of the victims were in critical condition. Officials say there was a street party nearby at the time of the shooting. Here's ABC's Alex Perchet.
Tonight, an investigation is underway in Akron, Ohio, after a birthday party erupted into gunfire, killing 1 and injuring at least 24 others.
Just be advised, Akron City and Akron General are both on diversion to all for a lockdown for a large shooting in the city of Akron.
Akron police say they received multiple calls about the party size before the shooting. The gunfire broke out around midnight. Among the victims, a 27-year-old man who was shot and killed. Dispatchers inundated with calls. These evidence markers detailing the chaotic scene. At least 30 shell casings mixed in with cups and fireworks. The rush of patients so great a nearby hospital had to put its emergency room on a hard lockdown. Tonight, the city's mayor reeling after this senseless violence.
We have to hold people accountable when they commit violence. That's the only way to keep our community safe.
Lindsay, late tonight, Akron police tell us that they recovered both a pistol and a rifle from the scene, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions here, including motive and any possible descriptions of suspects. Lindsay.
All rather unnerving. Alex, thank you. Today, OPEC and other oil-producing countries announced their plan to try to keep prices high, at least into next year. And that could, of course, impact Americans at the gas pump. ABC's Inez de la Cuatara joins us now from London. Inez, explain what's happening here.
Yeah, Lindsay, the expanded alliance of oil exporting countries known as OPEC Plus, led by Russia and Saudi Arabia, agreeing to extend most of its production cuts into next year. On top of that, others will be extending voluntary supply cuts, and this comes as the group tries to remain competitive, given slow demand growth, high interest rates, and increased production from the U.S. Brent crude oil prices had been trading at about $80 a barrel, and that hasn't been enough for OPEC Plus members to balance their budget. So this is really an attempt to prop up oil prices. It's still unclear what impact this will have on gas prices for American consumers. OPEC Plus first began implementing deep production cuts in 2022. Lindsay?
Inez, thank you. And there's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday. Shocking video. A monster truck takes down utility poles, multiple injuries as spectators run for safety. And why police have beefed up security ahead of a cricket tournament in New York. Next tonight, police on New York's Long Island are on high alert with the Cricket World Cup getting underway there this week. A police bulletin says pro-ISIS propaganda specifically mentioned the India-Pakistan match to be played next Sunday. Law enforcement says there is no credible threat, but security will be tight. Multiple injuries were reported Saturday at a monster truck show in Maine. Video from the scene shows a truck going airborne, clipping a power line and dragging down several utility poles. Spectators scattered. A father and son narrowly missed being hit by a transformer. 2 people were sent to the hospital. Several others were treated at the scene. When we come back, a new milestone for China's space program, what they're doing on the far side of the moon. To the index now, and China's mission to the far side of the moon. A camera on board captured the moments leading to touchdown on the part of the moon that we never see back here. The mission calls for collecting and returning rock and soil samples to Earth. We're less than a week away from the Stanley Cup Finals. The Florida Panthers earned the right to play for the oldest trophy in pro sports, beating the New York Rangers 2-1 to win the series. Florida lost in the finals last year and vowed to make up for that this time around. The finals start Saturday, every game, right here on ABC. And when we come back, D-Day plus 80 years. American troops return to a hero's welcome. Finally tonight, America Strong, the hero's valiant return. A hero's welcome for 66 American World War II veterans as they arrived in France yesterday ahead of the 80th anniversary of D-Day this Thursday. An exuberant return for the veterans who are all around 100 years old. Their lively manner belies their years as they engage with well-wishers hoisting flags and photos.
It's unreal.
100-year-old Bill Wall was an Air Force gunner in France and Germany.
I lost some great friends, and all of those people out there on their crosses and unmarked graves are the true heroes.
Veteran Sidney Edson sporting a big smile, taking a picture for posterity. Gene Gibson, one of the Rosie the Riveters, with a wave for the adoring crowd. The reception as warm as it was emotional.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My heart is full. My heart is full.
A rousing tribute in their honor for their service, led by Denise Bauer, U.S. Ambassador to France.
Welcome back to France.
Former Ambassador of France to the U.S., Philippe Etienne, expressed his gratitude on behalf of the French people.
You risk your lives to free our country from oppression. To you, dear veterans, thank you.
A children's choir on hand to sing their appreciation. It is a symbiotic relationship. While these veterans are grateful for their country, the world is indebted for their service. So grateful for their service all these years later. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Lindsay Davis. David Muir, right back here tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir America's most watched newscast.